going through grief as a teenager, creativity was always there for me. It was always an anchor. And a part of expressing that creativity was smell. I was always smelling things, not just fragrances that you wear. And then when it came to experimenting with different fragrances that I wore, it just opened up this world for me.
All right. Well, it's so great to have you here, Ingrid and Erica. And, we're here to talk about the new Savant. And let's just start there. That name kind of just spoke to me. I would love to hear from your perspective. Maybe, Ingrid, you start. How did you come up with the name for the new Savant, and what does that mean to you?
So the new Savant, to me, really celebrates the untraditional paths in life that we can take, because I feel like in my life, I've always taken an untraditional path. Like the minute that I finished high school and finished what I had to do, it was just my own path. From there, I dropped out of college. I was a YouTube creator for over 10 years. And I have really just carved my own way in life. And a lot of it happened against the grain, against what people told me was possible. And so I love the idea of the new Savant, because Savant means someone who is, highly educated in a specific field. It usually means they're a scientist or an academic. And I love the idea of playing with that very almost traditional word and bringing in something new. Because I think what we're doing with fragrance at the new Savant is really different and untraditional. And so the new Savant just felt perfect. And I love the word Savant. I was reading an article, and the word Savant was in the article, and I just loved it. And that was during the time where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to call the company. And I knew that it was going to be something, the new fill in the blank. And I was reading that article, and that's when it came to me. And it felt right.
I love it. Does the new Savant mean anything to you in particular, Erica, as well?
Well, as customer number one, the first person who heard the idea, I was immediately like, yes, yes, yes. Because I mean, similarly, I've also had an untraditional path, not being the person who got the best grades, having to use my personality to get through, and just being a woman in tech, a queer person in tech. You're always just kind of like adapting and figuring out, how can I be successful? I know I have a voice. I want to bring it to the table. I've got great ideas. And so it's just about exactly what Ingrid said, like giving voice to those folks who have had to find their own way, and knowing that there's real beauty and truth in that, and it's worth celebrating. So I totally also resonate with it.
I love it. It's celebrating the path less traveled.
Yeah.
And so often in society, there's a direct way that either your parents or you could have imposed it on yourself. Based on the world around you, you just think this is the way I've got to do something, and you guys are breaking barriers in more ways than one through creating a company on your own, coming up with new novel concepts. It's wonderful. It's great.
Thank you.
I'm geeking out a little bit.
Thank
you. So I know that you launched the brand, the new Savant, in 2020, and since then things have really taken off. Tell us about where you are as a brand. Maybe Erica, you could start.
Yeah.
How is the new Savant going?
It's amazing. I mean, we launched the new Savant out of Ingrid's kitchen in 2020. In December, we had about 500 candles that Ingrid made and sold out in 7 minutes. After we got done kind of squealing and screaming and dancing around, we immediately got to work and got those packages out. And in the year 2021, kind of figured out, okay, we need space. We got a bigger space. Fragrance is central to what we do. So we talked to fragrance houses, and we decided to partner with Givaudan. And we just kind of began to build our operation so that we could grow. And just completing our second year in business, 2022, we did $500,000 in sales. totally organic, $0 spent on paid ad. I guess in the e-com world, it's called CAC, customer acquisition cost was zero. Yeah, it was zero. And we've really have hit, Ingrid's designing scents that are really hitting with people and finding space to make people feel seen who have been left out of the traditional world of fragrance and scent. And so it's been incredible, and we're just loving the ride and finding creative ways to build our own new best practices.
So it really speaks to how well your company resonated with people at a time where, fun things were not the focus.
Totally. And I think one of the things we've seen over time is the return customer rate. It's something we really care about. Is sure, people can buy it once, but do they come back? And we have just seen like exponential growth on that. The more products we introduce, the more sizes. So it's all just like good vibes, but even more like qualitatively, it's the customer notes we get, which is just people really, to your point, like people really connecting with the product, telling us, writing long notes as they check out on Shopify about what the scent means to them. And
I love that our customers have just kind of started this tradition on their own, where in the little comment box that normally you would write a gift note in, they write notes to us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we have them all over the studio.
Yeah. So we print them out and we put them up on the wall in the studio, and we just get these incredible notes from people. We get like, a couple gift notes here and there, but most of them are written directly to us, and they're so much fun to read. They range from completely sincere and beautiful to absolutely hilarious, and we're just dying in the studio, and they become like inside jokes within the studio. So it really just captures, I think, the full range of personality.
Would you mind sharing with us any of the stories you remember that are the most funny or the most heartwarming, perhaps?
Well, I'll start with heartwarming. Ingrid can come in with I know the one you're thinking of. Well, we got one. It was the first one I printed off. It was from a nurse. We have a lot of folks who are essential workers buying the candles. And so we had one who was a nurse at Methodist in Brooklyn, and she said that she lit a candle after every shift, and it really helped her to like recenter after what was a very difficult time. Someone who ran a marathon and bought herself a candle at the end to honor, her journey doing that. So beautiful, meaningful moments that people shared with us.
Marked with your candles.
Yeah. And then there are the comments that are like, I'm an absolute slut for these candles.
Which is the best.
Now that's devotion in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorites is this one. So the context is we had gone out as a team for a holiday end of year celebration, and we went to the Nines in New York City, and we all shared the like $100 potato it's like this baked potato.
I love a potato. I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah.
I get it.
I know. I didn't realize it was $100 until after we ordered it, and I was like, well, we're in it. We're splitting it like 4 ways.
We each got a quarter. Yeah.
It's a twice baked potato. So it's a baked potato, and then there's mashed potato on the inside, and then it's topped with creme fraiche and caviar. And it was incredible. And I posted about it on social media, as did all of us, because it was incredible. And somebody left in the comments, buying more candles so you can afford more fancy potatoes.
You deserve more fancy potatoes.
I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But they brought it cross-platform.
Yes.
And it was just so good. So good.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Next time you guys go back,
we'll
let me know.
give you a call.
I'm into it. So what do you think drew you to scent? Was it from, a twinkle in your eye when you were a child? Like, what made you think, what, let's do scent, let's focus on this, let's create content around this?
Well, I think it was something that for me just happened really slowly over time. It was really just a trail of breadcrumbs that I think now I'm able to connect the dots and see how it all makes sense. But I've always loved smell from a young age. which makes sense because smell is our most dominant sense that we have until the age of 10. I was always really curious about it, really aware of it. And then as I started experimenting with personal fragrance and home fragrance, I loved it, especially home fragrance because it felt like a lower risk way to experiment with different fragrance profiles. Like I didn't have to commit to it being on my skin for an entire day and not being able to remove it. And, you know, I posted so many videos in my YouTube years doing Bath and Body Works hauls where I would get all of these candles that I loved and I would talk about them. I always had a candle burning in the background of my videos. And then as I got older, you know, I still love smell. Everywhere I go, I'm smelling things. And I remember being in this tea shop in Paris and I was smelling all of the loose leaf teas and I just kept saying out loud, oh, I wish I could have this smell in a candle. I wish I could have this in a candle. I wish I could have this in a candle. And then fast forward like 5 years later, it's 2020 and I had quit YouTube in June 2020. We had gone to Indiana where Erica is from and we were visiting her dad and it was the first time we had space and just really room to like spread out and actually relax because we had been in New York City the whole time and I was just in the living room. I saw a candle and I thought to myself, I wonder how you make a candle. And then I thought, I bet I could figure it out. And I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be, you know, my next business. I was just curious about it. And so I went to the craft store, got basic supplies, made my first set of candles on Erica's childhood ping pong table in the basement. And I was obsessed with the process. Like I could not stop thinking about it. I loved the process from, you know, melting the wax to adding the oils in to waiting for the candles to set. And then you have to have patience because then they have to cure. So you have to wait a few days before you can actually burn them. And I just loved it. And so when we got back to the city, I started reaching out to different suppliers to test out different vessels and different waxes. And on the drive back to New York City, I told Erica, you know, I feel like this could be my next job because I really didn't know what I was going to do after quitting YouTube. And it just felt right. All of the pieces were coming together. And then Erica wanted to jump on board.
Yeah.
So
I asked and Ingrid said she would consider.
So you're in Indiana finding at her childhood home.
Yep.
And you're kind of finding this meditation that's really bringing you joy and in a sense of calm, it sounds like a real connection to this process. And a light bulb just kind of went off. And Erica, you witnessed this happening and said, like, let's do this together.
Definitely. I mean, I had, from a business perspective, always been building businesses and products and initiatives inside of big corporations. So I started off my career in media and was in traditional media, CBS, MTV, and then I went to Twitter and Google, where I was developing new things. And I was, you know, at the core, really entrepreneurial. And so when Ingrid brought this idea up, and it just felt there was a lot of synergy. And it just felt like an idea that had weight and clarity. And I was really excited about it immediately. And so, I just asked, like, what if I help you set up the business side? And I did and helped her. And the other thing that was so exciting to me about it, aside from the fact that it's a product that does encourage people to be in the present moment and to find a sense of calm and ease, which is, I think, needed more, really important for me on a personal level. And I think, you know, society as a whole, that's a bigger topic. But to get to work on something that brings people into the present moment just felt like a really exciting opportunity for me.
I love that. It is true because a candle just doesn't get lit by itself. You have to take the time, and there's this careful action that you're putting into it. And even the intimacy, I know you're not necessarily supposed to blow your candle out. You're supposed to snuff it, people. But even that process of blowing out the candle, I find myself closing my eyes and like gently blowing like it's a birthday candle. Like, it just feels, you're right. It really does bring you into that present moment. It's really poetic almost the way you put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's hard to, build a business. If you are lucky enough to build a business that has a deeper meaning and a purpose, if you can find that, then I think it's, you just have a big shot, and real opportunity. So, and also just to get to be co-founders with Ingrid, we had known each other. We've known each other for 5 years, and I've just always been so impressed with her creativity and the way that she built her first business, which is YouTube. Complete pioneer. I'm her number 2 hype person because her best. Yeah, she is an icon. But really, she pioneered not just content formats that continue to be used not only on YouTube but on TikTok, but the fact that she did like pioneering business deals and maintained her integrity throughout it, and then decided to step down when it was time. And like, I just have so much respect for Ingrid that when she had this idea, I was like, I just knew within, I was like, I want to do this together.
Absolutely. I understand that you two met in 2017 at Lesbians Who Tech, and you had an instant connection.
Well, this conference, Lesbians Who Tech, it's so much fun. Like 500 queer, non-binary, lesbian women. Just like it creates a space that feels so comfortable. And I was there as a speaker. I was speaking on behalf of Google, and Ingrid was there as an attendee, and she was standing in a long line. She did not abuse her privilege to go to the front.
Move out of the way. I want to meet this Erica person.
Not because of that. I was like, but we walked past each other in the line and just like instantly made eye contact, and we're like, oh my gosh, who is that person? And later in the day, I introduced myself to Ingrid, and we decided to go out and have coffee. And, we just really instantly like loved each other, in a multitude of ways.
That's wonderful. Okay. So I want to take us into this concept that kind of permeates your brand in both of your stories. And that is about rebelling against who you were told to be. I can see that in the naming of all of your scents, and from everything you guys are telling me. So I know what you're doing stems from a personal place, and you said something, you both have this quote that has shown up, and it's, growing up, we weren't always or ever the trendy or popular one, but we were original, independent. Most importantly, we sought to find ourselves, to be ourselves. We took our own paths. I just think those are some really powerful words. So, Erica, I wanted to ask you a question. First, who do you feel who you were told to be? And what moment comes to mind when you realize you didn't have to be that person?
Oh, how much time do we have? But
we got forever, girl.
I think, so for me, if you would have seen me like 20, 25 years ago, I would have had long hair, probably wearing dresses, trying to please my parents by, dating guys and really embracing the heteronormative culture that I was raised in. Meanwhile, there was a lot of kind of cutting homophobic remarks around me by people that loved me because LGBT culture and queerness was just not understood where I grew up. And I think that's true for a lot of places. But, so it was after college when I moved to Washington, D.C. and was going through a lot of grief. I'd lost a parent. And I realized, thank you. Yeah. I mean, grief is a journey. But I realized in the loss of my mom that I could be who I wanted to be, and that I had, it was now time. And so I met some lesbians unexpectedly with coworkers who took me out, and I was like 21 or 22, and I immediately saw myself in them. And I just, like, all bets were off. I was like, I could finally exhale. And then I, looking back at the way that I gravitated towards androgynous or masculinity in Indiana as a kid, I can look back now and be like, oh yeah, like I wanted to just wear what I wanted to wear. I wanted to shop in the men's aisle. I wanted to wear CK1 because it made me feel like myself.
CK1.
Yeah, which is having a revival. As opposed to like wearing Sun-Ripe Raspberry or Love Spell, which made me feel like I was conforming. I liked it. I have great memories, but I wore that to try and fit in, to try and mask, because I was scared of who I really was. So it's been a journey for me of like presentation, queerness, who I am, still working through those kind of like homophobic remarks that were said to me growing up, and knowing, you know, even with like Ingrid, you know, just having so much confidence too when you have close friends, people in your life that are living their lives unapologetically. It's just really helps. So yeah, fuck it. I just want to be myself.
Fuck it, y'all. It helped to, so you're saying it helped to kind of see yourself. And I think it's interesting that you brought up fragrance as kind of a part of your outfit or perhaps your armor to either one blend in, right? With the Victoria's Secrets and the Bath and Body Works and the fruity florals versus the CK1, which is really where you were, which is quite sophisticated at a young age, by the way, I want to say. So fragrance kind of, it seems like it's always been a part of your life and maybe helped you in that journry. Or that's really interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, and I like florals. I don't think it's either or, you know, but the marketing around it too, you know, there was just more androgyny in CK1. And I was like allowed, as a young girl in Indiana, I was like allowed to go up to that counter and buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I could have gone up to the counter and bought like a Tommy Hilfiger, you know, sport cologne. I think people would have like kind of like raised their eyebrows more.
Right.
So it was just cool that it was accessible.
That's awesome. CK1 is, I've heard that before, that it gave people permission to kind of explore a different facet of themselves or a part that they hadn't been able to acknowledge at all.
Very on.
The only one. CK1. A fragrance from Calvin Klein.
I want to pose the same question to you, Ingrid. Maybe just exploring even the scent part. How has scent been able to help you in your journey through identity?
I think it has, you know, been absolutely fundamental in my growth when I look at my long-term path. It has always punctuated my life in really unique and distinct ways. And, you know, growing up, the things that I was just, it always felt like I was never enough. I was never Asian enough. I was never white enough. I was never serious enough. I was never goofy enough. I was never soft enough. I was never funny enough. And it was just always, you know, trying to be these things that were expected of me. Be feminine, but not too feminine. Don't be, you know, too sexual, but don't be too masculine either. And when it came to my personality, like I have so many different facets to my personality. And, you know, I was constantly being told that I was too quiet. But then when I would actually speak about things that I cared about, then I was angry and I was too loud. And so it was really difficult, you know, growing up, trying to find, you know, where I was going. And I never really quite fit in anywhere. And, you know, I don't think I was looking so much to fit in, but I just wanted to feel like I belonged. And creativity was something that always made me feel like I belonged in the world. Like no matter what was going on in my life, whether I was having a hard time at school or, you know, navigating having a sick parent and then my other parent dying while I was young and going through grief as a teenager, creativity was always there for me. It was always an anchor. And a part of expressing that creativity was smell. I was always smelling things, not just fragrances that you wear. And then when it came to experimenting with different fragrances that I wore, it just opened up this world for me. I remember, you know, like Erica mentioned, Love Spell from Victoria's Secret and Sweet Pea from Bath and Body Works.
Too.
And then I remember all the cool girls wore warm vanilla sugar, which another story, but that's one of the reasons why I don't, historically, I don't love vanilla gourmand scents. And I've had to kind of relearn my relationship with gourmands. But, you know, I really started off with these fruity, floral scents that added so much joy to my life in a time when I really needed it. And even though high school wasn't a fabulous time for me by any stretch of the imagination, thinking about Bath and Body Works Sweet Pea makes me so happy. Like in every crevice of my body, that scent just makes me so happy. And then, you know, for a decade, I wore Jo Malone London Peony and Blush Suede. So a very floral scent, and that made me feel like myself. I loved it so much. I wore it during the day. I would spray it on before I went to bed. I just wanted to be in that scent, and it was just a part of me. And I wore it for so long, like, you know, I couldn't even really smell it after I first sprayed it.
It's part of you.
But it was just part of who I was. And I think I really needed to explore what femininity meant to me on my own terms, outside of other expectations, especially as a lesbian. What does it mean to be feminine in my presentation without the male gaze being involved in that?
Wow.
And so it has really become a source of power for me. And now I wear the fragrance BYREDO Sellier, which is an absolute surprise to me because I always thought, oh, you know, florals and fruity scents are the ones that smell good on my skin. I like having those scents on me. And BYREDO Sellier is like the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. It's really dark. It's leather. It's black tea. It's tobacco. I mean, the extract itself is like really dark in the bottle. And I love it. And I love it because it just feels like it has some edges to it. And I feel like I have edges to who I am. I'm not just one thing, and I can be sharp and soft at the same time. I can be quiet and loud and angry and joyful. And so I love how this fragrance embodies all these things, and I wear it during the day and I wear it at night. I think it's a fragrance that people would expect you to wear more at nighttime. But I love that it's just this like mysterious, edgy smell. So yeah, fragrance has always just punctuated my life in these really different but fundamental ways.
I love that. It's like when you were younger, maybe you were going for the joyful and the uplifting. And then as you kind of found, you know, your confidence, it almost seems like, and you know, your stride, you're like, okay, well, now I can explore this other side of me through this darker, more mysterious, because your presentation is super joyful. You just like light up the room when you enter it. And I think you make people feel like they know you, which we'll talk about in a second through your YouTube channel. But it's interesting that you would pick, I'm surprised. You're like, oh, I'm into this dark and complex scent. That's really cool.
I think even when I think about my personal style, I really crave that contrast. Like I have a black turtleneck on today, but then I have these like orange polka dot socks on and Converse. I really need that contrast of like the serious and then the creative and like a little weird. Like I need some personality in there. So, you know, I like the unexpected, and I crave that in all parts of my life, whether it's my work, my personal style, the fragrance that I'm wearing, my home, all of it.
I love it. I love it. Juxtaposition is everything here. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about YouTube. We won't dwell on it too much, but you're an absolute icon on the interwebs. You are a pioneer in the YouTube space, Ingrid. Just giving you a little bit of your flowers. Hope I don't embarrass you. But you spent over 10 years as a YouTube creator, and you grew your following to over 6 million with your lifestyle and beauty content.
Hey guys! All right, so holiday season is creeping up on us. So for eyeliner, now today we're going to be using a lot of black eyeliner. Okay, so that is it for my morning skincare routine, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'm here with...
Tyler Oakley. Hi.
Thank you so much for being here with me today, Bill. So we're gonna jump right into the questions. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make super cute summer star lanterns like this one. Today is an especially exciting day because I am announcing my collaboration with Malone London. I want to live my life unapologetically because I'm proud of who I am. I am going to be speaking with Melinda Gates about the Gates Foundation. Thank you, Melinda, for being here with me today.
Glad to be here.
I'm so excited. We did this, and we did it together.
And I am one of those people who watched it, and you make people feel like you're their sister or you're bringing them in. People really feel like they know you. And going through your archive, we really see that you spent 10 years on it. So you can kind of feel like I watched this person grow up and mature and find different facets of themselves. You can even see the content changing and what you're interested in talking about. So I was wondering if you could just tell us what that journey, what that 10 years was like for you, and what made you start opening up to people on the interwebs.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, a very generous introduction. Thank you.
All facts, though. All facts.
The chapter of YouTube was absolutely transformational for me. And I started making YouTube videos out of my childhood bedroom as a creative outlet. So I started in 2009. I had been watching YouTube videos well before then. And, I was aware of like the cat videos that people were watching, and people were making lip syncing videos back then too, and posting them on YouTube and doing dances. And that's really what people knew YouTube for at that time. But I had just lost my dad. My mom was really sick for all of my high school years and past high school. And so I'm also an only child, and so I spent a lot of time alone just in general, but like these other things, I spent even more time alone because of that. So I was on the computer a lot. I've always loved the internet. I think, we tend to focus on a lot of the negative things about the internet, which are very real and serious topics. But I think it's an and situation because there's also a lot of beauty that has happened because of the internet and like the genuine connections that have been made through the internet. And so in 2009, I made my first YouTube video and I was just in my bedroom. It was mostly dark, so it wasn't even like properly lit or anything. Not high quality whatsoever.
But it was real.
Little webcam.
Little webcam action.
And I just curled my hair and barely said a single word. I didn't know what to do, but it just felt so good to do something I had never done before. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to film. I didn't know how to like talk on camera or anything. I was just sharing what I had learned, and I posted it. No one watched it for weeks. And then I remember I got one view and one comment, and seeing a comment from a real person made it feel so different. Like, oh my God, an actual person has seen this now. And, I think one of the big things that was really transformational was winning YouTube's Next Up contest, which there was a small pool of people. I think there were like 15 of us who were flown out here to New York. And we were basically put in a YouTube camp, and we got business advice, camera advice. We got to go to B&H Photo, and we had, $500 gift card to get equipment. That set me up
Yes.
The thing that set me up the most was we got checks for $35,000 at the end of that camp.
Wow.
In cash. Little like 21-year-old me is like, has this envelope with a $35,000 check in there, and the entire plane ride home, I'm checking my backpack to make sure it's still there.
Terrified.
Constantly. I'm
you
like,
are
is
in
it
New
still
York.
there? Is it still there? I've never seen this much money in my life. Because of that money, I was able to get out of debt and pay off the money that I had spent trying to go to college and failing. I was able to get out of that debt, get my own place, pursue YouTube full time, have real equipment, and really put my energy into this job that was now unfolding for me.
And a job that didn't really exist before. You're one of the first people to make this a career.
For sure. And I now, like, fast forward like 10, 12 years later, the Ingrid still gets stopped on the street. And I remember one of the first times we were hanging out, we were in this antique shop, which I dragged us into, and it was quiet. And all of a sudden there were like 5 women standing behind us, and they were waiting to talk to Ingrid. And one of them, they thanked her and they said that they grew up with her and that they loved her videos. And then 4 of them walked away and one stayed, and she got tears in her eyes and said, I came out to my mom because of you.
Wow.
Referencing Ingrid's coming out video in 2015 that was groundbreaking, because I don't even think Ingrid's managers wanted her to come out, afraid that she would lose her deals with Covergirl, etc. But Ingrid was true to herself and came out, and it was a watershed moment for the LGBT community.
I'm gay. It feels so good to say that.
And that's what's really moving, is like hearing Ingrid tell this story. It was always for the right reasons, you know, and she really touched a lot of people, and it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah. And, YouTube transformed my life in a meaningful financial way. And also because it was my job to be myself, I felt like it was constantly pushing me to discover what is the most authentic version of myself, not just on camera. It was mostly off camera. Like, the decisions that I had to make to uphold my integrity off camera were happening every single day. The reckoning with coming out and then deciding to share that online with people. I am so incredibly grateful for that period of my life, because I think it really pushed me to do the things that I always wanted to do, but I just didn't have the support or the momentum to do so before.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful story. I'm just in awe of how you were able to just be your authentic self and kind of bet on that and kind of take the time to grow and learn, and it actually ended up coming back to you tenfold, just because you did put your neck out there and say, like, this is who I am. And that's why people relate to you. And I think that's why you get people writing comments all the time. They feel like they know you. They feel like they know both of you. And your brand allows them to be a part of that as well.
I will say it's a perfect transition, but to something that we talk a lot about, not to really offer the transition.
Transition me, girl. I'm here.
Is that the new Savant is not an influencer brand.
Yes.
And that is really intentional. Ingrid retired her YouTube channel, and there have definitely been times where I'm like, you want to unretire it? Maybe post a little video. And she's like, Erica, shut up. No. Which, again, integrity, it's like, you're not just going to go back and try to sell some candles. But the truth is that Ingrid didn't want to be the product anymore. And I saw firsthand in the last 5 years the toll it takes on you personally when you are constantly being scrutinized. You go to the store, you don't know if you can buy this thing or wear that color, nail polish because you have a deal with another brand. Being the entity that is the product is a huge privilege, and it's a huge burden. And I love that Ingrid set the boundary very clearly. I'm closing this chapter. I've watched her rediscover the internet, which has been really cool.
Yes.
Start watching YouTube videos on her own. Yeah, in retirement, discovering young, new creators. But But the new Savant, it's like people, of course, like her original, her OG Miss Glamorazzi fans have found us, and it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much more than that. It's other people coming who had no idea who Ingrid was, but are interested in the idea of disrupting what people think smells good.
Yes.
They are interested in the stories of what we're creating. And so I think that's just really important. And the reason it's important for us from a business perspective is longevity. There are two incredible influencer brands we talk about all the time that we think have incredible longevity. Rihanna's Fenty and Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty. I'll credit
Love
Ingrid.
both of those brands.
Well, those are the ones who have survived, right?
Yes.
Because they were bringing something new to the table.
Yes, absolutely. If they found a market opening, they were passionate about it, they were involved. And, for us, like, we want to have longevity as a brand. And we felt like our path was this, to like make it about the new Savant, make it about this idea. Ingrid's creativity is infused in everything, but it is not about her.
It's not the easy route.
Yeah, correct.
Because we're seeing it now. A lot of celebrities are entering skincare and beauty. And the question is always like the longevity piece, but it's like what's new that's being brought to the table. And if you put yourself out there at first, you're going to get a lot of people to buy your product because you're like, oh, I love this person, right? But at the end of the day, the product speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Definitely.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So
because, we see it. It's not called Ingrid's The New Savant.
No. That would be my worst nightmare. Erica was trying to convince me to put my name somewhere.
Bad ideas.
And I was just like, Erica, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not my strength.
Awesome. So let's get into smelling some of your candles. Here I have Mixed Feelings.
So Mixed Feelings is inspired by my mixed race heritage. So there's notes of crisp pear, heather, white jasmine, and steamed rice. So the steamed rice, I really wanted to be noticeable in this scent. So typically when you smell this, at the beginning, you'll smell the crisp pear and the white jasmine, and then this creaminess from the rice comes out, and it really smells like a fresh pot of steamed jasmine rice, which is the smell of home for me. So it's a little floral. There's also a little bit of incense in there, but it's just a really bright and powerful fragrance.
I love the balance of all of the scents, the florals, the woody, the steamed rice. I do truly like the way you're describing it. It is accurate. And the next is something that I know from the Scentbird platform is California Christmas. I absolutely adore this one.
So California Christmas is a gourmand, and it's an interesting gourmand. I don't think people would smell this and immediately think gourmand.
Yeah.
But it's in the gourmand marine citrus olfactory family, and there are notes of desert air, sun-baked sea salt, so you really get that marine quality, California oranges, and then you have cognac, caramelized sugar, vanilla. That's where the gourmand really is. And I don't think people think of, liquors as gourmands, but they really are.
Yeah.
And I am not super familiar with cognac, so that's not the first note I get, but a lot of people who are, that's the first thing they smell when they smell that candle. So it's really interesting to see the ways that people experience that, but that is inspired by my Southern California roots and spending every Christmas in Palm Springs, which is the opposite.
Yes, it's not a New York, snowy white Christmas at all.
No, it was hot, it was dry, and my grandmother always ended Christmas Day with a vanilla souffle with Grand Marnier sauce. So those notes are all captured in that fragrance.
I love that. I feel like when you smell the candles from the new Savant, you get an entire story. Like even without you explaining it, you get the different facets from the notes. It smells true and like a full experience. It's really great.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'd love to smell Dreamgirl with you both.
So Dreamgirl is a revisionist history of my teen years, reimagining what it would have been like to be out and dating my dream girl in high school. And it was inspired by the first time I listened to Girls Make Me Wanna Die by the Aces, which is an all-woman band. 3 are queer. 1 is an ally. We love that there is an ally. And their music is incredible. I've been a fan of their music for years. But when I heard Girls Make Me Wanna Die, it immediately put me back into being a teenager. And it had me wondering what would it have been like to date girls in high school. And it's really a joyful, buoyant fragrance, but there's a little edginess to it. So it is in the fruity leather olfactive family, and there are notes of dark cherries, which I notice right away, a little bit of rose petal and fresh tobacco that lend a freshness. And then you get the edginess from the leather and the washed denim. So this fragrance is my favorite one that I've created to date. I just think it's so different. It kind of reminds me of like Dr. Pepper chapstick.
Yes.
Because
that
there's
lip smackers.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yes.
getting.
Yeah, there's a sparkling cola accord in there that I really wanted to capture because I was thinking about, okay, what are you doing on a date? In my imagination, you know, sharing milkshakes, drinking soda, kissing in the back seat, like watching a movie. So I think that scent is just beautiful, sensual, joyful, buoyant, edgy, all in one.
I love this. I think I would wear this as a personal fragrance too.
Yeah. I love that. So when we're making our fragrances, the fragrances get stuck on us since we're in the studio while they're being made. So we all leave smelling like whatever was made that day. And I love Dreamgirl as a worn fragrance.
Yeah.
It's really
so
good.
And I also love that on all of your package, I actually know who poured my candle. Thank you, Julie, for this Dreamgirl. Shout outs to Julie. Poured by hand.
Yes.
I can even tell what day it was. It's
Yeah.
so cool and such a interesting detail that's on all of your packaging. And it's just a joyful unboxing experience as well.
I'm so glad.
Kudos. So I'll pose a question about your scent preference, and you can just share whatever scent comes to mind first, right? So we'll do a few with you, Erica. Do a few with you, Ingrid. Are you two ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm nervous.
It's
I'm ready.
game time.
Yep.
Don't think too hard on it. Just what scent comes to your mind? Number 1, Erica. What is your top scent obsession right now?
BYREDO Mojave Ghost.
Ooh, I love that. 2, what is your go-to scent for joy?
The top of my dog's head.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. That is the sweetest thing I've heard all year. Oh my gosh, who are you?
It's a big commercial opportunity, I'm sure.
Yes. Next scent. Ingrid, what is your go-to scent for creativity?
The new Savant Heatwave.
Ingrid, what is your go-to scent for relaxation?
The new Savant, the Dropout.
I love it. I love that we love our own brands.
I like
and
those
it's
are the
real. I could tell.
Yeah,
it's real.
those are the first things that come to my mind. So
Well,
it is
you
what it
designed
is.
them.
Yeah.
So now you know creativity and relaxation. We have new Savant scents for them. Erica, what is your favorite scent combination?
Oh, Joe Malone's Wood Sage and Sea Salt and Peony and Blush.
Suede.
What?
Peony and Blush Suede.
Whatever, yeah. You made
So it was a pairing that
Ingrid made a
I
pairing
did.
with Joe Malone years ago. That was my scent, her scent, and it was the perfect pair. That's what we call, and it was in a solid perfume. I still have it. I loved it.
You guys, name a better duo. Is there a better duo? I think not. Ingrid, I want to ask you the same question. What is your favorite scent combination?
Okay, so Joe Malone. I'm trying to remember the name. Joe Malone London. I think it was the Oud and Myrrh body cream with the poppy and barley cologne sprayed on top.
Erica, what is a scent you can't stand?
Oh gosh, I mean New York City trash.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Ingrid, what is a scent you've learned to love?
Gourmands, especially any kind of like sweet vanilla smell, like that warm vanilla sugar body spray from Bath and Body Works really just set some bad memories for me.
It's those bullies.
Yeah. And also, I just didn't grow up with that flavor or smell profile in my house. So it just smelled completely foreign to me. And it was just like a lot. And then now gourmands are like my favorite to design because I find it really challenging to make something that I enjoy having in my space.
Ooh, I love it. Erica, what is the most challenging scent you've ever made or been a part of making?
There's a scent that Ingrid's been working on for a while now that hasn't come together yet, and I won't divulge more of it, but I'm a tester and I'm smelling things, and it's just giving me the opportunity to have more language around notes. But yeah, I'm not the one actually making them. I'm just a tester. So.
And
testing is important.
I listen to Erica's feedback, but I don't always take it.
So let me ask you then. Ingrid, what is the most challenging scent you've ever made then?
A gourmand. So Only in New York, which is one of our holiday scents, it's in the gourmand herbaceous olfactory family. And that went through 6 different versions before getting it right because I really wanted this very specific almond cookie note that was inspired by the baker whose studio is next to us.
Wow.
And I am always smelling him bake these pignoli cookies that are completely made of almonds. And so it got to the point where I just sent a bag of the cookies to the perfumer because they were like, you can send us anything at any time. And I was like, fantastic. Look out for some cookies. And that's when we nailed it. But that one was the most challenging because it made me realize how many different ways an almond cookie can smell. And it's many, many different ways.
Right. We also had extra revisions with mixed feelings because originally, which is kind of like draws notes from Ingrid's Thai and Norwegian heritage. Originally, the perfumer used a rice note that was a basmati rice, not a jasmine rice, which is what Ingrid was looking for.
And these rices are different.
That was really fun, interesting back and forth.
Yeah, and now it's perfect. I smell it, and it smells exactly like home to me.
Yes, you're trying to convey something that's in your head into words, into chemistry.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult.
I know, it is.
I'm going to ask both of you this question. Erica first. What is a scent that takes you back to high school?
Gap's grass.
Ooh, again with the deep cuts. Yes. Ingrid, what is a scent that takes you back to high school?
Bath and Body Works Sweet Pea and the smell of chlorine because I had a swimming pool at my high school, or we had a swimming pool at our high school because I grew up in California. So a lot of high schools have pools, but I remember I had to walk by the pool a lot because it was next to the locker rooms that smelled like Sweet Pea from Bath and Body Works. And so those two things are really connected to each other. The smell of the chlorine from the pool and then the Sweet Pea.
I think that's a new candle. We're giving Sweet Pea and chlorine. Yes. I love it. Okay. Thank you both so much for sharing everything with us from, your origin stories to how scent has played a big role in your lives to your journeys, Ingrid, from content creator to leveraging your creativity and channeling it into fragrance, and you coming from tech and media and both of you finding harmony together as co-founders to create such a wonderful brand that's breaking boundaries and changing the way our home smells. So thank you both so much for sharing. And I just had one more question for both of you as a closing. If you were to create a candle for each other, what would it smell like, and what is the vibe you would like to leave?
Wow. I would create a candle for Ingrid that somehow always reminds her how powerful and impressive and creative she is, if there's ever any doubt. And so I would do a big research project with Givaudan about every single note that has traditionally been associated with power.
Yes.
And maybe use some of those, but find new ones. So that's what I would create.
That's wonderful.
I would create something that is the essence of Sesame's head.
That's our dog.
Maybe I'd throw a little sesame in there because his name is Sesame, just for like that little nod. But overall, I would want the scent to feel really joyful and safe because, I just see Erica as someone who really craves, having a soft place to land, especially at home. And I think that's one of the reasons she loves the smell of Sesame's head, because he represents comfort and safety and sweetness and joy. And so I don't think it would smell exactly like him because personally I think he's a little stinky. But
he is a dog.
Yeah, he's a little stinky.
Well
but it
said,
would be
Ingrid.
like the essence of that feeling that she gets from being with Sesame.
I love that. Erica and Ingrid, it's been such an absolute pleasure talking to both of you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having us. Thanks to Scent World and Scentbird for creating a pioneering space to share fragrances online. We're happy to be a part of it and be on the show.
This was just so much fun. I am so happy that we got to spend part of our day here. So Thank you.
My cheeks hurt from smiling.
Me too. I'm still laughing from the first things we talked
Yes.
about. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.